always said, if you can't find a friend, make one.
Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Height.
And I'm Chelsea Duff. And this week we are talking about a movie that I had never seen before, but am now in love with. When we were looking for movies to do earlier this year, I did a little Google and I found a movie called May from the early 2000s. And I thought, you know what would be fun? To do the movie May for the first week of May. So that's when we decided to put it on our calendars. I knew very little beyond that. I did read the synopsis on some sites saying it was one of the best movies of the early 2000s, which is where I found it, and frankly gave a lot away. And so did the trailer for this movie, but I still don't think I had a full appreciation for what I was getting into. I'll read the IMDb logline, but then I want to hear your guys' initial thoughts, experiences, takes. But IMDb says that this movie is about a socially awkward veterinary assistant with a lazy eye and an obsession with perfection who descends into depravity after developing a crush on a boy with perfect hands, which is a better logline for sure than the one I saw written up on sites, which got into the Frankenstein stuff right away.
Yeah, shouldn't give that away right away. I mean,
that should not have been the first thing I knew. Yeah, that was a mistake.
So I was the only person who'd seen this movie before. I saw this in high school with my friend Mac. Shouts out to Mac, the only person who would watch horror movies with me in high school. And yeah, I remember watching this movie and I couldn't remember a single thing about it except for having a jaw drop kind of reaction to it and us being holy shit, you know what I mean?
Extremely fair.
But the second that it started, I remembered everything. And the second I saw Anna Faris, I was like, I see it all in my mind's eye. But yeah, this movie slaps. It is so good. It was literally made for us for Spooky Tuesday.
Here's the thing. I was flavor blasted and I thought I knew what I was getting myself into with this movie, and I did not. And it was a fucking mistake to watch this movie in the state that I was in, because I was so uncomfortable the entire time that at one point I was like, I need to go find a snack because I can't do this right now.
She just left.
Well, she fell asleep, I think.
I did
fall asleep. We did watch together
at the very
this time.
end because, again, I was very flavor blasted and I've been having tummy issues.
It was Betty by time.
Real hot girl shit, you know?
Classic.
And but here's the thing. I had an absolute great time with this movie.
When you watched it again.
On take two, yeah.
When I watched it completely sober, I was less anxious about it, but also I do kind of like a good anti-hero woman, and that is how I would describe May.
Yeah, I think like I said, I knew the Frankenstein stuff. And I knew that she was gonna get Frankenstein as opposed to somebody else doing it. But I wasn't really sure when or at what point or how that would factor in, what the general overall tone would be. And I was very nervous watching it because I wasn't sure how it was going to play out. I think when I say that I'm scared watching horror movies, that's usually what I mean. That I'm scared that I don't know what this movie is going to be. Not that I'm afraid of what's happening in the movie, but that I'm afraid that the movie is going to do something that I don't like.
Yeah, that's so you. That is so you, especially after our VHS conversation when you're like, what is this movie going to become? And it's you extra don't know because it's vignettes, and every vignette, everything is different. You must have been flipping out.
It's a new start each time. Yeah, and I mean, on VHS, my faith paid off, like I said, most of the time. In this one, I felt like the vibes were right. I was liking what was happening. I just wasn't sure how it was going to end and like what the thesis statement of the film was going to be. You know what I mean? Because I felt like
Yeah.
that could really go in a couple different directions, and some of those directions I would be very unhappy with. But I thought this film had a perfect, flawless ending, and so I was fucking thrilled. Like when it got to the end, and I'm not going to say what happened yet, even though you know how this podcast works. You should not be listening unless you've seen the movie or are prepared to hear every single plot point that happens in the movie. But it got to the end, and I was just like, please let this be the ending shot. Please let this be the ending shot. And then it was, and I was just like, it felt so good. I was so happy. I was so thrilled. It was a great ride, start to end.
I can't imagine watching movies in that way. And I have respect for you that you go through that type of anxiety the entire time. That said, I mean, this movie is definitely anxiety producing in not the traditional horror sense. The horror of this movie is like the social uncomfortableness that is experienced by the viewer and by anyone interacting with May pretty much throughout the entire movie. But something that was a big part of my viewing experience this time around, which I did not experience the first time I saw this because that was back in, like 2009. This movie takes place about like, I don't know, a half a mile from where I am sitting right now. It literally
Very familiar scenery here. Yeah.
I could run there. I could run there really fast and then run back. Be a little bit of time because I'm not very fast at running, but I could do it pretty quickly.
I walked to that area for brunch, and it was a
yeah.
long walk, but I walked.
It is not a long walk. It's like a long block away from where I am right now. And I recognized it literally immediately because one of the first shots is like May walking down the street and she sees Adam in a like some car shop, like looking at a car. And
Adam,
I was
the
like,
character, to be clear, not Adam, your boyfriend who lives very nearby.
yeah, sorry, we're talking about the movie. Adam my Adam was in Davis, California at the time of filming. But yeah, she's walking down the street. I look at the background. I'm like, that's Hyperion. And like they showed everything. I was like, I know exactly where that is. She sits on the bench. I'm like, that's next to Tomato Pie. And then I pulled it up on Google Maps and I screenshotted it and I sent it to Chelsea and Sydney. And I was like, here we are. And so that really added something to me. When they're at the park, they're at Elysian Park. Like when they go to the coffee table, that place, it doesn't exist anymore, but that was in Atwater.
Oh yeah. Oh, I loved the coffee table.
I know. I made coffee for Adam this morning and I put it in his coffee table mug. Very sad.
Aww.
So this was
but yeah, they also literally go to Baller Hardware and they're like, here's Baller Hardware. Here's the Baller Hardware sign.
Yeah. It's literally takes place all within like a 4-block radius and it's where I live. So that's cool.
Don't you love when you see exactly where you live in movies constantly?
This is now, usually it's like places I've been, but like this is too personal. Like my house was in Nightmare on Elm Street and now this. Like
I was watching 911 the other day and Danny's Block popped up and I was thrilled to see that as well. I just I love a filming location recognition moment, and I love to start watching a TV show because I've seen them filming nearby. So
that's beautiful. It's beautiful. But yeah, I mean, this movie, I'm so glad that you guys liked it so much. I would have been shocked if you didn't. But I was very excited because I got to do one of my welcome to the movie things when I've seen the movie before and I know where it's going to go. Because this movie gives you like what? Like an hour, a full hour of rom-com before you get to the gruesome. I mean, it's uncomfortable throughout, but it's like romance-y for like at least 45 minutes. Until it gets gruesome. And Chelsea was like, what's gonna happen? What's happening? What's happening? And I was like, welcome. This is the point.
I really wanted her to just be happy with Anna Faris. You know what I mean? And that's the only thing that is sad. I think.
Totally agree with you. Okay, well, let's talk about the beginning of the movie because, like, the first, 5 minutes of this movie explain why Meg is the way that she is in a pretty succinct way.
Well, yeah,
And it's
I mean,
super fucking sad.
it starts with the scream, which is actually spoiler alert again, you know how it works, but it opens with the first shot of the movie, which is actually one of the last shots of the movie as well. And it's a scream moment, very House on Haunted Hill, which is
Yes.
fun, a clear reference.
I hated it. I hated
Oh.
the opening. Hated it.
With her
Yeah.
as a kid.
No,
I
no,
liked her
that
as-
moment.
Yeah,
That
that
moment
moment.
when they spoil the ending at the beginning.
Mm.
I don't know
I
why
think it
they
was
did that.
so unnecessary. Like it didn't add
Okay.
anything. But I like her backstory.
Hmm.
I hated that scream. Hated it.
That's so interesting because I didn't
I
mind
didn't like
it.
it either because I don't like it when movies do that because then I guess you like forget throughout the movie because I totally forgot that happened at
Mhm.
the very beginning. Like I was just rewatching a few minutes ago and I was like, oh, what the fuck? But especially with this movie because it's such a slow burn at the beginning. Like I would have liked it better if that wasn't there, and then you're really bitch slapped when it starts going off the rails. I would have liked that
Sure.
better.
I kind of liked that there was like a reminder that this is a horror movie. Although I think that creepy doll does a lot of heavy lifting on that front as well.
Yeah.
But you're right. I definitely didn't know that it was the end shot until I was rewatching it, and I went, "Oh yeah." I maybe I would have felt differently about the scream if we hadn't just done House on Haunted Hill. But because we had, I was like, oh, fun, same kind of thing. And then I just like moved on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I don't mind like something jarring at the beginning. It's not that. I just don't like that it's the spoiler of the end at the beginning. I hate spoilers.
Yeah.
That's the part that I don't like. Cuz like you see her with blood gushing out of her eye, very first thing, and then it moves on to her being a kid and they're explaining that she has a lazy eye.
Which
and her
like I
mom
know kids are mean, but like I feel like having a lazy eye wouldn't have stopped. I feel like kids wouldn't have not. Like I would have gone out of my way to be friends with kids, like a kid with the eye patch, like cool as hell.
Well, that kid did approach her right away. But I think it's like the mom that is the issue, not so much other kids. You know what I mean? And the mom is really heavy in those opening scenes. And originally you said they did it so succinctly, Monica. But originally those opening scenes with her as a kid, per IMDb trivia at least, were a lot longer. And then they ended up trimming it down because audiences said like it was taking too long to get to the point, basically.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of trimming it.
Yeah.
You got like the meat and potatoes right away.
Mm-hmm. But like you really get her mom driving the point home, basically. Like it's not just that you have a lazy eye, it's that like we don't want anyone to see that you have a lazy eye. Nobody can see. You have to wear your patch. Don't you want to have friends? Like the mom is really the one coming in hot with that. And
the mom is
there's
giving
the moment
big Aunt from Sleepaway Camp vibes.
Yeah.
And then when she like gives her the doll and is like, if you can't find a friend, make one. When she like goes to rip the wrapping paper, her mom is like, now it's ruined. Like clearly her mom has her own stuff. And also her mom made that doll. So her mom has got a lot going on.
She made the
already.
cursed doll.
She made that very scary doll. So
many people need intensive amounts of therapy before they have children.
That
They're
girl
not getting
needs
it.
therapy. No, but seriously, like from the very beginning, she's like covering up the eye, right? She's like, oh, you
Mhm.
have a lazy eye, but don't worry, honey. I'm going to make you look perfect. Like, oh, God. She's like all about perfection. It's all about perfection. And like, she's always like the mom is always super coiffed. Her hair is always perfect. She's dressed like a 50s housewife or whatever. Like,
and then
no one
she's
else
standing
is
next to
acting
her
like that.
husband in the muscle tee and jeans, just
yeah.
chilling.
Yeah, scruffy with a buzz cut. I mean, buzz cuts can
The
be
double
fancy, but like,
standards
yeah.
for men and women.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like she just is glommed onto this idea of what perfection is, and she's trying to force it upon her daughter because she can't control her husband because her husband thinks she's being ridiculous. Like when May rips the paper and the mom gets all mad at her, that pans to the dad and the dad's like rolling his eyes like what the hell, you know? So I'm sure there was more of that in the scenes before they chopped them all up.
Personally, I think that they're divorced, and I think that May's mom probably has full custody, and that's why all of this influence was just really radiating through. It was getting all mom all the time without much to counteract that influence. It was like keeping her from making friends. You know what I mean? She didn't have a lot of other sources to turn to. I think probably.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I think at the beginning of this movie, they do a really good job of setting up May to look like she's some character that you should pity, that she has no friends, she's weird, she's been ostracized her whole life because of her eye and all of this stuff, and like she's never been socialized, and now she's this lonely adult woman with a great veterinary surgeon career. Don't get me wrong. But you know, not a lot going on for her outside of that. And what I really like about this movie is as it continues on, you start to realize, like, even long before the shoe drops, that like May is the villain because she holds other people to that. I mean, there's reasons for everything, but she holds other people to that same perfection standard that her mom placed upon her. So like she wants she can only see other people in the way, like in the view of how they like serve her throughout the entire movie. Like she likes Adam because she sees his hands and she loves his strong hands and she's obsessed with his hands. But does she really like Adam? I mean, maybe a little bit because Adam's pretty cool. We'll get into it.
Adam's
but
cool
like
and sexy.
he's so sexy. Oh my god. I was like, it was so great to be bisexual and watch this movie, you know? Like it was fantastic. I have like Anna Faris always hot. I have Anna Faris in this movie. Holy shit. You know? Holy shit. And then what's his name? Jeremy Sisto?
Yeah.
Adam. He is one sexy slice of man. Like exactly my type. I was saying to you guys that he looks like Adam Driver, but more approachable. And less Adam Driver-y, if you know what I mean.
Here's the thing. He definitely looks like a man who you're gonna see smoking cigarettes in Silver Lake.
Yes.
And you're
Sure.
like, God, I hope I run into you at a bar, like 3 shots of tequila later. Like, find me at Cha Cha Lounge. Like, hello.
I can go down and I can sit on the exact bench that May sat on, the exact bus bench, and I will see that man. I will see someone who looks exactly like Adam sitting right there.
Like I said before, I've made out with many a man in the Cha Cha Lounge photo booth
Cha-cha.
that look just like him.
Lucky woman. But
Yeah, he's actually so perfect for that role because he has that like quality that he's brought to many roles. He was in the movie Waitress, if you have ever seen the original movie Waitress, and he plays her husband that she hates. And he is like so perfect in the role where either he's a piece of shit, but you see at moments like what was so charming about him and what drew people in initially in Waitress specifically. And then in this movie, he's so charming and he draws you in, but he's still good at like kind of being a piece of shit, but being hot despite that. Although I think it's a little more debatable here because I think some of his reactions are a little more justified, even makes me sad. You know what I mean?
I think his actions are totally justified. I was like, we were watching this and Chelsea was like, oh my God, like, is he being mean to May? Like he's not canceled. You said something else. And I was like, if I was making out with someone and they all of a sudden like threw me against the wall, I would be freaked out too. Sorry.
She didn't throw him against the wall. She just moved towards him so eagerly, and he couldn't handle that level of desire rating off of her.
Here's my thing about Adam as like a man, right? Is we one, May does completely stalk Adam until
100%.
he notices
Mhm.
her. But then once he does notice her, he he picks up like, oh, like this chick is really weird only because she tells the most gruesome like vet
He
story.
says he likes gross. He says
Exactly.
disgust
Yeah,
me.
that story was
Exactly.
fucked up though. And the way that she told it, she like took a bite of her sandwich as she was discussing like sewing the dog back up. Oh
I
my
don't
god.
even want to like talk about details of it. And I fast forwarded through it. I was like, no, I don't want to hear this again. I was so traumatized for watching
Sure,
it the
sure,
first
sure.
I
time.
was giggling the whole time too. It's like fucking terrifying.
It is gross. It is a good gross story. She's right.
But so, you know, he's like, okay. And he takes her back to his little, I guess his apartment or whatever. And
Mhm.
he has like all this weird art. And
Art is weird.
he has
Apparently some of that is like a Giallo movie poster, maybe. He's into Giallo. Italian horror. My friend's
Italian
boyfriend
horror.
one time asked us if we knew what Giallo was and had covered any Giallo movies, and I said, "What's that?" So that's my take.
I know what it is, but we have not covered.
we'll
I
get
would
there in
love
due
to watch some of
time.
that.
But he has, you know, weird art. He has a film about cannibalism, and she says something so funny where it's like, I don't think she could eat his whole finger in one bite. That's just so unrealistic.
So it's a little
And-
far fetched.
And then like he gets weirded out because she like bites him while making out with him, and I'm like, poser. You want to be
No.
like all cool and like, I'm weird. I like weird and different, but like you don't. You don't. Like you want some basic bitch. Like don't even lie. Don't even pretend. Like
No,
everybody likes
here's
fair.
the thing.
a very aggressive lip nibble every once in a while.
I see what you're saying because like Adam is trying to paint himself as a little freak boy, but he does a really good job because I want to talk more about his movie. But also before we get to his movie, we have to talk about the first makeout scene when he has the stabby knife, which is like a fake stab knife. You can stab someone, but they don't die because it's fake.
It's one of those
and-
ones where the blade like is spring loaded and
Yeah.
goes inside because it's just
It's a fun
plastic.
prop knife.
Yes, I want that
Loved
really
it.
bad.
Loved
But they
that
have
scene.
like
Very
literally
hot.
the horniest makeout I've ever seen in my life where they're like stabbing each other with the knife. And I was like, I'm gonna die because this is
Knives
amazing.
are hot. Okay.
It was hot. It was very hot, and there were no stakes because we know it's fake, but they're still stabbing each other. It's wonderful. And so okay, and he's got the weird art on the wall, and it's exciting. The weird art really reminded me of this time I went home to some guy's house, and he had this like huge art on his wall that was similar kind of vibes. It was like a lady with a machine gun for a leg, like very what's it called? Draft House. And, and I was like, "Oh, what's that? That's cool," because I didn't know what to say. And he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, that's my art that I made after I got out of prison." Anyway, that's what it reminded me of. So
no
moving on
additional
from-
commentary. Yeah.
moving on from that. But like he also has his amazing voicemail message where like she calls him and he's like, "Hey, it's Adam. Leave a message after the scream." Ah!
Right?
I was like, "Oh my god, I love him." And he says he likes weird and all of that stuff. But here's the thing. I don't blame him for being as freaked out as he was.
Mhm.
And then we get his fucking movie, which like his movie, they start watching the movie because May showed up at his house because he hadn't called her back and had been standing in front of his front door since 2 p.m. He says that she's been standing out there for 2 hours, so that would make it 4 p.m. It looked like lower light than that. And it depends on the time of year, but it looked like
It's the
it was
fall.
evening
It shouldn't
time.
be that dark.
Yeah, it was
It's just
before
before
the time
Halloween.
change. So how long had she been out there? There, like it would have been over for me right then. But for some reason, he thought that was hot because he is freaky.
Or maybe
And
he
then
just didn't believe her.
I mean, she was just standing outside of his door. completely. She didn't look like she was
Chillin'.
like, oh,
She looked really cute,
I'm about to
though.
knock.
She looks
It
so
wasn't
cute
like her
in her
hand was up and she
outfit.
was about to knock. She looked very cute. She looked very cute. The other sad thing about this movie is that as it progresses, she gets so much better at socializing, but just worse at every other part of being a human, because she
Right.
starts killing people. But then, okay, his movie. Let's talk about his movie and that whole scene, because she brings him over to her house, and she serves him mac and cheese, I guess, and then yellow Gatorade in wine glasses, and I did think that was nice. I like
Gatorade
that.
in a goblet, baby.
Yeah, Gatorade in a goblet just makes sense. It's alliterative. It's beautiful.
The theme for today is Gatorade, I
The
think.
theme for today's Gatorade.
The theme for the day is Gatorade. You won't understand that, but we do.
It's a fun inside joke with us and one of our besties.
Oh God.
I hope our bestie's listening.
But anyway, this movie, when we're first watching Adam's movie, I was like, this is really bad because the actors are terrible, but it's on purpose. The woman in the movie has such insane eyes.
It looks like she has her own like cross-eyed moment when the camera is really close on her and she's looking at the guy's face so close. It's called Jack and Jill, by the way, which I love.
Set to the song "My Baby Does the Hanky Panky." The whole thing is a music video.
Was very fun.
I thought the whole thing was fun. I loved the whole thing. I thought it was a blast.
I loved it because I didn't know it was going to be a horror thing at first. I forgot. And so I was like, these actors are bad at acting. And then I was like, oh no, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's a makeout where everyone is eating. Well, everyone, there's two people. Man and a woman are eating each other as they're having sex. So zombies, I guess, or cannibalism. It was very hot.
Great. It's because it starts with like very flirtatious and then comes the finger moment that Sydney referenced earlier. And she bites the finger clean off. And they just start like kind of feasting on each other, but it's like intercut with shots of them like circling each other and then like wrestling each other. I loved it. I thought it was great.
It's giving Troll 2.
It is giving Troll 2. I bet he loved Troll 2.
He loves Troll 2.
Giving fresh.
It's giving fresh and it's giving Troll 2. When he was eating her boobie, I was like, it's fresh. It's giving fresh. And yeah, it just reminds me of the lady who's laying on the ground and turns into a puddle in Troll 2 and is getting eaten. It reminded me of that. So
yeah, but the way that May is like watching it, and every few moments she's like scooting closer, canoodling closer to Adam. She is loving it. She's thrilled by this movie, and she's like, "Oh, I get it. I get the vibe." He's not passing the vibe check.
No.
Oh no. Okay, but he's watching her watch it the whole time too, which I thought was hot.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
It was hot. It was hot. And they're having their makeout scene. And like, I thought it was really cute because she kept getting really excited. And there's that part where she doesn't know what to do with her hands. And she's like, like with her hands, like really tense around his body. And he's like, okay, slow down and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, this is going so well.
And then
hot. He does that sexy shirt thing that dudes do.
That men
where
do.
They pull their shirt off by the back of their neck. I tried to do that like, earlier today
when they
and it got caught in my earrings.
Take your shirt off, Sydney. Go ahead. Do the whole thing.
I'm trying. Not as sexy.
Whip it off. You guys are just as hot as Jeremy Sisto right now.
This is a dress, so it's a little bit too much material. I could do it though. I'm gonna practice. I have some button-down short sleeve shirts. But like then she bites him and he starts bleeding a lot. There's a lot of blood. And I think it's then that I don't think it's just that moment because at first he's like, oh, and he's like not immediately super, super horrified, like his arm's still around her and stuff. But then when she's like is trying to like basically suck the blood out of his mouth, you know, like some vampire shit.
When she smears it all over herself. Yeah, that's when he
yeah.
starts to go, I don't know.
She's got a blood kink.
For sure.
I think then it's just like all of the pieces that have happened so far coming together and him being like, this person just injured me. And before they stalked me to my house, probably stalked me that one time where they crashed into me on purpose in the street.
Awkwardly rubbed their face on my hand before we knew each
asleep.
other.
At a cafe as a stranger. Yeah.
It
is a lot of red flags. I get it.
It's a lot of red flags. So I was like, yeah, baby, get out of there. And then the scariest part, and we haven't even talked about this at all, was that as soon as he leaves, you hear May screaming at the top of her lungs at Susie, her doll. Because she looks over at Susie and Susie's like had been watching them have canoodles. And she's like, I told you to look at the wall. Like, and Adam's like, what the fuck? Don't blame him. But like, okay, I guess let's get into Susie real quick before we dive into Anna Faris and never resurface.
right.
But yeah, okay, this doll, Susie, that her mom made for her in the glass case, because she's not supposed to be played with, just supposed to be looked at. She's special.
She doesn't come out of the case.
As May starts to like come out of her shell and put herself out there, like in turn with like equal measure as May puts herself out there, the glass around Susie starts cracking and breaking, and I'm getting big picture of Dorian Gray vibes. I don't know. That's what I was thinking, but I don't like with Dorian Gray, like every time he did something bad, it would affect the portrait and not him, right? That's what happened.
Yeah, he stayed young and sexy and hot forever.
Oof.
And the portrait got old and ugly and mean, essentially.
Yeah. So it's not an exact tit for tat, whatever. Assimilation is not the word that I was trying to use. Okay. Think back to AP Lit.
Oh, you were going to say simile, maybe?
Simile?
Or metaphor?
Yeah. Metaphor. Yeah. It's not
simile
exactly
using like or
the
as.
same. It's not exactly the same as Dorian Gray, but like there's definitely some vibes there. But like I don't know. What do you guys think about the doll? Do you think that she like was sort of possessed, or that May had poured so much of her, not possessed, but like May had poured so much of her energy into that doll by it being her only friend her whole life? Like, do you think the doll had something going on, or do you think May was just that far gone?
I think the doll was just a doll. And all like the cracks and stuff just kind of represented May's like sanity, like full on, like she like, because when the case like eventually shatters is then when she goes on like she shatters, you know what I mean? Like it is.
Yeah.
So I think it's her mental illness. Like I think she's just, or
her disconnect or whatever. Yeah. I think that it's something like that too, because there are times when you can like hear the glass like cracking and creaking.
Yeah.
And she hears it too, because there are times when she yells at Susie to shut up, basically.
Yeah.
And then the glass cracking stops
while leaving a voicemail for Adam.
Mm-hmm. But there are lots of moments like that. But I was really interested in this movie. And there was a lot that I was like seeing in it, and I wanted to know more about. Because I didn't know if I was bringing the right vibes or not. But I went looking, and I did find an article from someone. And by the way, the work I had to put in to actually find and access this article after finding like a screenshot of the headline on Google Images, it was an effort, but I will share the link with you directly in the episode notes so you don't have to go through what I went through. But it is a post from someone named Giz I don't. Okay, I'm not gonna try to say the name because I don't know if that's a real name or not. But or if it's just like Lord Gislason. Actually, I don't know. Whatever. The name of the article is May and the Importance of Autistic Representation.
Ooh.
And they talk about how they first saw the movie May at like a sleepover, which would have been insane to think about, like little girls watching this movie at a sleepover.
That's what Mac and I
were,
did.
yeah, they said they were preteens. But they are also, I don't know their pronouns, which is why I'm using they. But they are also queer. They got their autism diagnosis when they were in their 20s. And they were like, I just see so much of myself in May, both in like the way that May needs things to be really spelled out. And like May seems to be stimming at some moments. And there's like a lot of like classic autism symptoms. And people have like tweeted this at Lucky McKee, the director, about this and other pieces of work that Lucky McKee has done. And Lucky has basically said like, that wasn't necessarily my intention, but I love if people see that here. And I love people like bringing their own identities into these movies and like connecting them. And so I think a lot of her behavior and her like social disconnect is just that sometimes, and then obviously it becomes more because autistic people are not murderers by trade. But yeah, I think that is like a lot of the basic stuff in the beginning, and also like explains why she struggles so much to connect with people and why she relies on like this doll. But I read a bunch of other articles about this movie too when I was like looking for thoughts about it, because I also went Googling to see if the actress, Angela Bettis, does anybody know if that's right?
Yeah,
I don't know. Bettis? Okay. I went to see if she had a lazy eye in real life. And she says she does, by the way, but it goes in the opposite direction. And Lucky McKee has a lazy eye in the same direction as May, the character. And so he really wanted it to be the same. Because apparently a lot of his movies are very autobiographical, particularly this movie, though, which is interesting. But I found a lot of articles that were talking about Susie in the box and May being in like a metaphorical box. And there are some different takes. Like one person kind of looked at it as like when the glass shatters and Susie the doll gets ruined, that's when May like snaps basically. And the rest of the movie is a hallucination. And that's why she's like moving through the world so smoothly, effortlessly, socializing with people, like charming her way into scenarios. And then another take that I saw was just like, you know, she's just broken after that. Like that's like the last straw, and she can't do it anymore. Things are broken, and she's just like, okay, this is not working, these traditional methods. I'm doing my own thing now. And honestly, that's girl boss, and we love it for her.
I would like to present a third option, which
Okay.
supports my possible possessed doll theory, which I don't think is the case. But throughout the movie, she like gets advice from Susie. She asks her like how to kiss and asks her
that
other
Susie
things.
teaches her how to kiss. That was when I said that Adam was being mean, when he was like, "Who taught you how to kiss?" I was like, "Shut up, you little bitch. Be grateful to be kissed."
But then she's furious with Susie after that because Susie's the person. Susie is the entity who taught her how to kiss and gave her advice on how to kiss. And you know, whatever she did in that moment with that kiss, she like pushed out and was like aggressive in a way. And so and then there might have been one other instance where like she like took advice from Susie and it didn't go the way that she wanted to. So another way that I kind of interpreted it that it could be is that when the glass breaks, like she becomes Susie because
she dresses
because
like
she
Susie.
dresses she creates this dress on Halloween because she's
Susie
a
Unleashed.
seamstress, and she dresses exactly in the outfit that Susie was wearing in her doll case, and she wears that outfit as she commits all of the murders, except for Spiky Boy. I don't think she's wearing his that outfit when she kills Spiky Boy.
Okay,
that was
option
more
4.
heat of the moment. So
True.
yeah, something to consider.
Option 4, I'm gonna put a thumb down because I had it up before. Option 4, I think, is maybe she's free of Susie in that moment. Maybe Susie was like the thing restraining her before.
Oh, maybe Susie was the embodiment of her mother telling her to be perfect.
Be normal.
Be
Don't be
normal.
weird.
And
Yeah.
rein it all in. And then once that was broken, she was like, nah, I'm just gonna fucking kill people, man.
Guess what? You can't tell me what to do anymore, Susie, you little bitch.
Tell me what to do, Mom.
Although she does save Susie's eyes at the end. Although we know that they don't work. So what's there to be said about that moment, actually, of interest? Or should we wait until we get to that moment to get to that moment?
Yeah, let's wait till we do the end.
Okay.
But let's talk about Anna Faris, because she is the light of this movie. She is the light of my heart. She has so
many good lines.
She's so horny and she's so pretty, like Angel, like early 2000s Angel.
The dark hair, I love on her so much. And it's honestly just really fun to see her in an actual horror movie and not one of the scary movies.
Yes. Totally. Oh my God. And she's just like so like unashamed about what she wants. She's just like
an inspiration,
loud, proud
honestly.
lesbian.
She literally described herself in an interview as an aggressive lesbian, and I was like, "Yeah, that's the vibe."
100%, that's the vibe.
I know back in the day, like I kind of see her as a little bit of a predatory lesbian in this movie.
Okay,
like, watching it the second time, like I could kind of see how like
she's manipulative for sure.
I wouldn't be okay with like this on-screen representation as like I had a great time, but like this movie came out in 2003 when that was like such a thing, and the director is a straight man, so it's like
yeah, no, there's a little bit of that. I totally agree. I remember when I saw this the first time and was but a young, not figured out my sexuality yet high school student, I was like, oh, she's so intense. And little May doesn't know what she's doing, which is like she doesn't at first. And also she definitely like manipulates May into taking pussy. Taking the pussy cat to her house. What was the name of the pussy cat? Loopy. What a cute name for a cat. Because she's like dancing with her and like being super sexy with her, but all to get her to take the cat, you know? But at the same time, she also does really like May, and she also is horny for May. So it's not like entirely like a lie or something, you know what I mean?
It's not a lie, but I think she knows like something's a little off with May, and especially when they're like interacting and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It just it seemed very off.
That's so interesting.
Both Adam and Polly, I think, like that she's weird, and they think that it's cute, which is like infantilizing, but
here's the thing, there's a difference in like liking somebody because they're weird and like realizing like that like something is off with this person and taking advantage of them, which is kind of what I think Polly did.
That's so interesting that you say that to me, though, because when she kisses her after the dancing, that's the only moment where I felt like a line had really been crossed. But this movie like made me have reflections about my sexuality and the way that I am comfortable receiving sexual advances from different kinds of people. And I felt like it was kind of exactly the energy that I personally would want, which is, I think, I would be much more comfortable receiving those like very forward, straight-faced, like aggressive moves from a woman than a man, who I would be like a lot less comfortable receiving that kind of sexuality from.
And it helps like, you not be confused, like what's their vibe. You know what Polly's vibe is.
Yeah. Like I felt like Polly was very much like putting out,
but here's the thing,
exactly
May
what I
doesn't
want.
know what her vibe is. Like May clearly did not get that, which we learned like later in the movie. Like,
but other than the kiss, she doesn't do anything. She waits for May to come to her. She just says, hey, putting it out there, I'm down 100% for literally whatever.
but May came there because she was like upset about Adam, and then she like, and that's when like she's literally there like upset about Adam, and that's when Polly makes like a sexual advance at her, like towards her.
But I don't think that May is not attracted to Polly. She's definitely attracted to Polly, but she's like not. She's never had a boyfriend.
It's fine, but I'm just saying like the way that Polly was reacting was not chill at all. Like this movie would be like, it was just not chill.
It seems like the vibes were totally off for you, and that is okay. Those were not the vibes that I got from this movie.
Yeah, like I had a great time watching it the first time, and then watching it the second time, I was like, this is kind of gross. Like Polly's behavior is gross.
Oh, I loved Polly's behavior.
I loved Polly's behavior too. To each their own. To each their own.
That's what I got the first watch, and then the second watch, I don't know, the second watch watching this sober, I picked up like, I still had a great time with this movie, but I picked up all the like ick of this movie too.
Yeah,
you got the
2002 of it all.
Exactly, like the early 2000s of it. I was just like, oh,
yeah,
that's true.
God.
I'm reading through a very 2022 lens, and you're right, perhaps I would have had a different read in 2002 or in the context of like 2002 if I was keeping that in mind. If this was the only lesbian you ever saw on a movie screen, that would be very different than me now watching it as a queer person who consumes a not small amount of queer media, who just likes to see queer people being exactly who they are. You know what I mean? But if you only have that representation, that's different. And that's kind of how I felt about like May herself and the possible autistic representation also. Like, to have the autistic person be the villain or the murderer is in its way not ideal. But I also think she is the murderer, she is the villain, but she's also the hero and the heart of the movie. And then like the last shot
this movie has.
Yeah, but also the last shot to me, and I'll discuss this more in depth later, but the last shot to me made me feel like, okay, this is, I'm good with this, and I like it, and I think it was worthwhile. And then that other person said that it was really important to them that they saw themselves in it. So I think if they liked it, then that's great too.
One of the things that I do wish was directed slightly differently is with Ambrosia.
Oh, Ambrosia sucks.
But I wish we never interacted with her and we only saw her legs the entire movie.
Sure. But I do like that she twirls on command. You know what I mean? Like, she gives some pushback, but she does do the twirl.
Like, I loved when it was just like she was just like legs, you know what I mean? And you would just it was like all the shots and it was like just her legs. And because like she didn't like add anything, quite frankly, you know what I mean? Like, talking wise, I just think it would have been so much better if she would have just stayed like a pair of legs, and then we could have had a nice moment a la Halloween where we just see May kill her with the legs, and like the legs like fall or something like
flailing.
Yeah,
the legs going like this.
Like I think that would have been like, her death was a good death. But I think it would have just been like more fun if Ambrosia had just stayed a pair of legs.
I think it was funny the first time. I think they leaned on the leg thing a little too long. Again, the opposite of what you're saying for me. But I think if it were just legs the whole time, that would have felt like weirdly inconsistent with the rest of the movie. But I would have liked if they had done more bits like that and had that, you know what I mean? But it would have been a one way or the other thing for me. Because everybody else, Blank gets to be a whole person. Jeremy Sisto, obviously, we see a lot of Anna Faris. We see a lot of the cat. We see a good amount of.
Yeah, because the whole thing is that May can't accept
she's reducing
people's holes, like people's holes. May
she
can't accept the whole person. She only likes their parts, like even
which she says to the punk guy.
Blank. Why is his name Blank? That's so strange and
Wait,
interesting
his
to
name
me.
is
Funny.
Blank.
They never say it in the movie, but it's on IMDb.
That's
Okay.
funny. But like even with Polly, like say what you will, but you can't say she's not sexy. But like even like when the actual like sex scene happens between sex scene between Polly and May, which was amazing. What was I trying to say? Words, thoughts,
That she
thoughts.
gets distracted, the
Oh,
moment's ruined.
she is like really into it once it gets started, and then she looks at
The finger
Polly's
mole.
finger mole and is so horrified by it that it turns her off completely. So she can't accept anyone else's flaws, but she expects people to accept her for all of her flaws, and that's what's really frustrating about her. And it was at that point that I really stopped liking May as much. I still felt a lot of sympathy for her, but I was like, she's so superficial and she expects everyone to just like accept her for stalking them and all of this stuff and all of these scary things that she's doing. And like immediately thinks Adam is her boyfriend, all of this stuff. Same thing with Polly. She's like really upset when Polly has Ambrosia over because she's already been like, oh, you're mine, you know? But she did have
Even
that
though
conversation.
she's seeing Adam at the same time.
Yeah.
Two-timer.
Exactly. So she doesn't hold people to the same, she doesn't hold herself to the same standard that she holds other people to, which is frustrating.
Yeah, she has that conversation with Adam where she's literally like, "You're perfect, aren't you?" And he says, "Nobody's perfect." And she says, "You're perfect." Like doubles down. Like she's 100% projecting that onto him. And it's, again, pedestalizing anybody is never going to work out. It's never going to be a good idea. And he literally tries. So I think you're right. In some ways, he is just being like a normal person, having normal reactions. I think it's a little phony to be like, that's too weird without ever explaining what your boundaries are. But biting, hurting each other, that needs to be discussed ahead of time.
Exactly. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, oh, you didn't tell me I wasn't allowed to cut your mouth open with my teeth.
That's
do we have to
blood
say
is
that
like
now?
pouring out of him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's literally like it's a big cut. So yeah, we talk about consent, May, but she'll learn that in time, maybe. But let's talk about the twist. Not the y'all knew it was coming.
Wait, I want to talk about the scene where Susie breaks with
we
at
have
the
to talk about the
daycare for the blind kids, because
blind
that
kids.
seems so
fuck.
horrifying.
Well, yeah, that's the start of it. That's the start of the end. Because what the fuck was that? Oh my god! Like the whole movie, May has been hanging out in Illusion Park, and she sees all these blind kids that are at a daycare that's nearby, but they are hanging out in the park. And there's one girl who like won't hang out with anyone. She's over by a tree by
Petey.
herself the whole
Which
time.
is such
Petey.
a cute name for a girl.
Such a cute name. And so obviously May's like, that's just like me. I didn't have any friends and I don't want Petey to not have any friends. So she like literally goes and volunteers. I'm like, do they do any sort of interview process for these volunteers? Just wondering. Just a
Seems
question.
like no, but she is a respectable vet tech. Maybe
True.
Maybe they did a background check and everybody was like, seems clear.
Actually, at this point, she's gotten pretty like socially adept at this point in the movie. So, you know, she probably did great at the interview. But yeah, she's trying to help Petey, and so she decides to like bring in her doll to like show everyone a show and tell. And that's like what is happening in that scene? I don't even understand.
Well, there's a lot going on, but I did read this really, really good article from diaboliquemagazine.com, which I had
also
never
read that
heard
article.
of. Yeah, by
That was
Hood
a
William.
really good one.
It was really good. And it talked in that article about like how she kind of sees the blind kids as like a refuge from people who can't see that she's weird, because you said she's expecting people to like accept her weird stalking behavior. I don't necessarily think that she is, because I don't think that even registers as like weird or unacceptable behavior to her. I think to her,
That's fair.
like she literally just thinks that it's her lazy eye that people think is like strange and off-putting. And to her credit, there is one scene where she sits at the bus stop and takes her glasses off and like looks over and smiles at a guy, and he looks over and then he sees that she has a lazy eye and he like literally gets up and leaves. So like it's not that she's getting no feedback, but she sees the blind kids as kind of like a respite from people who can see that she is different because of her eye, even though she has like the glasses and the contacts that correct it, at least while she's wearing them, and so she's able to move through the world without being like visibly different. But in that moment, it's that like agreement that they have, or not agreement that they have, the children haven't agreed to anything, but like the pretense of why she's there is like shattered, because she is still weird, she is still different. When she's being like, this is my best friend, and they're like, it's just a box, and they can't get beyond that, even though Deirdre is like, her best friend must be in the box, and she goes, very good, Deirdre, and I was like, yay.
Good job, Deirdre.
Yeah. But then she's like, Petey, come touch the glass, which first of all,
The glass is broken.
The glasses
The
all
kids
kind
are
of
gonna hurt
cracked. Do not
themselves.
invite blind kids to come put their fingers on it. But I want to read part of this article because it was really good. It says, part of it is, okay. Now, as an adult, contact lenses replace the glasses and the patch, but they cannot replace the divide in her very soul, embedded and fixed there by years of loneliness. May exists in an eternal feedback loop, her status as an outsider so codified into her very being that her every attempt to bridge the divide between her and others is doomed to failure and only reinforces the distance between them, a self-fulfilling prophecy. She has become an Ouroboros, eating the tail of her own despair. May's best and only friend, Susie, also lives in a box, which I thought was like cute, the way they did the little metaphor thing. Later in the article, it says, it talks about May treating others the way that they treat her and that being frustrated. But the part about the daycare is, May seems surprised when the children can't tell what it is, unable in her mind to separate the doll from the box that contains it. It's just a box, says one, feeling the case. May seems offended. Susie's seclusion is what makes her special. The children want to play with Susie, for dolls are meant to be played with, but May resists. They wrest it from her hands, and the boundary shatters. Susie is in pieces. So is May. Her weirdness has transcended the gaze of others. It is innate. The incident leaves her with glass in her eye, and for a short period, seeing the world through a haze of pain and blood. And I thought the whole article is really worth a read. I'll put the link in the description.
It's already in there.
Oh, good. It's so good.
It's so good. But yeah, I mean, and then the end of that scene is just so horrible because like
Oh
the
my
kids
God.
misunderstand what like
and the adults
something.
have shocked faces in the back for one moment and then seemingly are just like, well, whatever's happening is gonna happen, and they don't step in.
Yeah, I don't know what I thought the
So
kids
long.
misinterpreted what like because the lady, like one of the ladies yells out glass, and then I feel like they misinterpret it, and then they get on the ground or something. Like, do they think it's coming from the air? But they all fall down on their hands and knees. Like, why? Did they think
Stupid
it was
babies.
candy? Do you think this was a piñata situation? It was literally so fucking horrifying. There's blood everywhere.
Honestly,
little
that would be
hands and knees.
so
Ugh.
traumatic. Also, and then like we see,
And then she
May-
comes home covered in blood in the elevator with the making out couple, who, by the way, is director Lucky McKee, is that guy.
Oh wow.
That's funny.
Fun little director cameo.
Here's the thing: if I was a director, I'd be like, you know what I'm gonna do? Make out on my own
In every movie. Yeah. I mean, I get it.
Very
in my
M.
movie,
Night of
it's part of the
him.
script.
But like, this is something that I thought it was kind of interesting when I think Chelsea brought up that what happened after this was like a dream or like a delusion or stuff, because we do see like she's rubbed glass into her eye or something like that because her eyes are
She's
so
really rubbing it in there.
bloodshot.
She's like scratching, pulling at her eyes.
And then like the next thing we see, she's like perfectly fine.
That's what like the evidence was pointing to that they were talking about. But we do see that she is like lying in her room for a long time with the dead cat on her and her doll's broken body over her face. Because we get the voicemail from Polly being like, hey, you've missed 2 days of work and Dr. Sarkeesian is getting a little worried. And I don't know, I think you can maybe assume that more time has passed. But I see why someone would be like, okay, if she's back to normal right after that, and now she's like markedly different in a social context, can we infer that this is like her envisioning what's happening as she lies there in her bed with her fucked up eyes and her dead cat and her dead doll? But I don't think so. I think she's really doing it.
I think she's really doing it too.
I hope
and she
she's
really does
doing
it. She really does it. I mean, she meets second time on the bench, maybe third. She meets blank and has more luck with him. I've never seen anyone do their hair like that before.
You haven't? I just saw someone on TikTok
new.
that the other day. And
With
they said
the
they sleep in it. They sleep face down, face on the pillow so that they don't miss. They're called Liberty Spikes.
No, that I've totally seen. I've seen Liberty Spikes a million times before. It's the weird ones that hang down around your neck. He had some that were erect and some that were flaccid. And it was the flaccid ones that are the ones that I don't understand. Right in front of his ears. It was a very strange thing that I didn't understand that was going on. But I loved his Frankenstein tattoo. I love that.
So did she?
Oh yeah. I mean, he had great arms. And when he took off his shirt and he's like, it's so hot. Can I put some, do you have ice? Can I put some on my nipples? He's so comfortable in his skin and in any location, including a strange woman's apartment.
I love that he was like, you want to go get some jujubes?
Yeah.
Just a friend. He's out there being, what was it from last time? Friend shaped?
Right.
He's shaped like a friend.
He is shaped like a friend, but then he's dead. I mean, I also would have reacted poorly to finding a dead cat in a person's freezer. So I can't blame him for that.
Yeah.
It's never
that's the thing.
something you want to find.
Listen, as somebody who used to have dead squirrels in their freezer, sometimes you just see things, you know?
I would have been freaked out, Sydney, if I found that. I would have been freaked out. With the context that I have from knowing you for however many years now, I wouldn't be as surprised. But if it was like week 1 at iHeart, I went over to your apartment and I opened it and there was a dead squirrel in there, we wouldn't be sitting here on this podcast today.
I think we would have, because I would have been like, I'm very into taxidermy. And you would be like, oh, I also am interested in taxidermy.
I don't know if I would have been like, oh, it's so cool. This girl I'm already scared of does DIY at-home taxidermy.
Picking up squirrels on the street. Yeah, that might be a little different.
Call the health department. But yeah, I mean, I just love how it goes from like 0 to 1,000 million for the rest of the movie. And I think all of the kills are so fun and so well done, and then some are very sad. But yeah, I mean, like Blank, that was a perfect way to start it off because you don't really see it coming because they've never met before. And what's next? Is Adam next? Or is Anna Faris? Polly's next. Polly's one was so sensual.
Okay, here's the thing that I do want to say about Polly. It doesn't work out for Polly either. But what I felt was different in the Polly romance versus the Adam romance is that Adam is doing what is like very common behavior of expecting the other person to like pick up the vibe, basically, when he's saying like, I have plans, I have that, but he's not being like, I'm not interested in you. He's not being like, it was not cool when you did, like, he's not giving her the straightforward messages. He's expecting her to get the subtext, and she's not. Polly is not dealing in subtext at all, which is what I liked and what I thought worked for me, and what I think came off as so aggressive for you, Sydney.
It's not even like that. That's not what I like. I don't know. Just the way that this lesbian was written by a straight man in the early 2000s, when there wasn't that much like female, like gay representation on screen, rubs me the wrong way. Like, that's what rubs me the wrong way.
Totally.
Okay.
Like,
I hear you.
I think she's also like pursuing May, and I think that May likes that too, because she's getting like the runaround from Adam the whole movie, and he's like interested, but then he ghosts her for weeks, and then he's interested again, and then, you know, so on and so forth. But like with Polly, she's like pursuing her and is like, I'm interested in you, come eat melons with me, like you know. But then, like, she also doesn't understand nuance. Like, she's like, oh, this girl likes me for sure. And so this is a done deal. But, like, it's not a done deal. It's the 21st century. We're not married from one makeout session, you know? And so, like, she gets so furious about Ambrosia.
the worst name. That is the name of a salad.
It is. I had ambrosia salad Monday.
Name of a salad. How dare it be the name?
I don't know if I've ever had ambrosia salad, and what I've heard of it though is that it's like not that exciting for something that is literally like the magical food of the gods. Like, that's what that word is from. It's from Greek mythology, and they named it after like what is it made out of? What is ambrosia made out of?
Marshmallows.
Cool Whip. The little can,
Yeah,
the Mandarin
this is a
oranges,
fucking bastardization.
Yeah, there were full peeps in the ambrosia salad that I had. Full peeps.
That sounds like my worst fucking nightmare. I hate peeps.
Look, they didn't really add anything other than style, and I liked it.
Well, I guess in
there's
this
coconut and
context,
walnuts in there too. Don't forget the shredded
oh my
coconut
god,
and
that sounds
walnut.
so fucking bad. I'm
And
gonna
I
throw
think-
up.
Look, everybody does their own little different recipe. We have pink salad for Thanksgiving at my cousin's house, and it's delightful. Okay.
I love the like 50s housewife like casseroles and recipes such as ambrosia salad that have transcended through the decades in different families.
So-
and like still live on to this day. Pineapple upside down cake slaps, okay? My aunt's all canned green bean casserole, incredible.
Y'all will think this is vile, but it's a huge thing in the South, and it is like a fought over staple at our our Christmas and Thanksgiving, and it's pear salad. And it is half of a pear, like a canned pear, a dollop of mayonnaise,
Immediately no.
cheddar cheese on top of the mayonnaise, and a maraschino cherry on top.
Sydney, did I have that when I came to your house?
You might have, because we eat it a lot and it slaps.
I feel like I've seen that. I either saw it on the internet or I ate it. Either way, I think if I ate it, I liked it.
You've consumed it in some capacity.
The mayonnaise of it all is not it for me, but
I need mayonnaise to be
slaps.
hidden. I need it to be snuck into my dishes when I consume it. I don't want to know that it's there.
Okay, wait. We got to get back to Polly.
No, we can do mayonnaise for 5 more minutes.
Hi, welcome to mayonnaise talk.
This is the mayonnaise discourse episode.
But it's just so sad because there's this whole part we haven't brought up that like this is super premeditated, because once May kills blank, she's like planning out the rest of her kills, and so she like measures Polly's neck and all of this stuff because like she's gonna make her a top,
a
or
blouse,
something, like
she says,
a blouse, because she's a seamstress,
and
Polly's
she says
so
about the mole,
excited.
she goes, have you ever thought about having this removed? Like, girl, shut up.
She's
Polly
so-
says, my grandma said it's the imperfections that make you special. But then she's so self-conscious. She's like, what do you think, May?
Yeah.
May, her opinion doesn't matter here right now. You keep
Yeah.
that mole, Polly. And you fuck that hot girl Ambrosia, who was just too hot to pass up when she said she was down. Like, you go, girl.
Like, if someone saw my party chit and said, have you ever thought about getting that fixed? Besides my mom, because she did say that to me, I would be devastated. So rude. Don't keep to yourself. But anyway, yeah, so like they're over at Polly's house, and she's like, oh, did you bring my blouse? And she's like so ready to receive this blouse. And then she's like, oh, wait, actually, what's happening is some sexy scalpel play here. Because earlier in the movie, there was some sexy
stabbing moment?
self-harm happening. Unclear. But they're stabbing each other in the fingers with scalpels, and it was incredibly sexual somehow. And so it's just so sad because Polly's like, I trust you. I know you'd never hurt me. As
Yes.
May is coming at her with 2 scalpels around her neck, and she just like literally presents her neck to May because she trusts her so completely and never thinks that she would do this to her, and she just slits her throat.
This is why
That's-
rule number 1 is trust nobody. Never trust anybody for any reason. Everybody is
So I
bad.
for sure would
Don't
not
trust
let Scooples
anything.
get near my neck. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would never
yeah.
be fun little sexy playtime.
She thought it was a cute callback to their sexy scalpel play in the awful in the office.
But also,
Freudian
like,
slip.
May non-consensually stabbed her that time too.
Yeah.
But then Polly just happened to like it after the fact. That she got lucky on that one. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But that's
And then-
the thing. I think Polly does a pretty good job of like consistently, clearly stating what her boundaries are. I think it really could have worked between them in a
I
different
know.
movie.
I know, it's too bad. It was a very devastating loss. And then of course Ambrosia dies, and her death is just silly. She just gets stabbed, and then that's that. And I love that May has the audacity to like just be actually doused in all these people's blood and like taking this big ice chest filled with body parts just all around Silver Lake. She's
That's
just
'cause
dragging
it's
it through Silver Lake.
Halloween.
It's Halloween, baby. She can get away with murder. She literally is. And then she goes over to Adam's house, and he's there with his new girl. And they invite her in because the new girl is like, "Oh, why don't you come in, girl? You're an idiot."
Dumb.
She gets one compliment on her earrings and she says, let's just see how this plays out.
I would never be like, "Oh, this is my boyfriend's ex who showed up at our house like with a big bloody fucking ice chest. Let her come inside." If they're cold, if you're cold, they're cold. Let them inside.
But yeah, they've got that whole exchange. There's the toy knife is there again. And she's talking about his hands. She's being like, touch me. And the girl is like, his hands are mine now, honey. But what she says back,
uncomfortable.
I loved. Because she goes, no, they're mine, quackle-doo. And I just love that she called her a quackle-doo. I don't know what it means. I Googled it.
Hot new
I think
term.
it was made up.
Hot new term.
Huh? Hot new term. Oh yeah. Hot new insult out on these streets.
Yeah, no, I love it.
But this is where Adam showed that he's a piece of shit because he pushes that girl off his lap onto the floor and then doesn't even help her up. May's the one that goes over and helps her up. And then he calls her a dumb bitch too.
Yeah, he's the dumb bitch for that. But then May helps her up, but then she does stab her in the temple with a scalpel.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she was polite for one moment, but not with good intentions.
And then how does she end up killing Adam? She stabs him in the stomach, or
yeah, like when she stabbed him with the toy knife earlier, which is actually really funny because he may or may not be dressed as Julius Caesar. So him getting stabbed. He could just be a Roman. We don't know, but I like to think it's a little Ides of March. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, and then finally, like, we flash forward to after. I mean, I guess we get like a little montage. Do we get a montage?
There's
I don't know.
lots of cuts back and forth, just generally speaking, in this movie that I think are done really well. Like they do it well in the blank kill scene
paced
too,
well.
where it's like you see the end result for a moment before you see her stab blank and deciding to stab blank. And that's why I think the scene in the beginning doesn't bother me as much, because it feels very representative of like what the movie is doing as a whole. Also, there's lots of cuts back
That's
and
fair.
forth with the timeline.
I'll give you that. That does make sense thematically through like just cinematography wise, like choices that they make throughout later on in the film. But then we get like little back and forth as May creates her
cut to the doll pieces on the ground, cut to sewing body pieces together.
Yeah, and like she's incredible with a needle and thread. And what I really liked, because I wasn't sure exactly what it was that she was going to take from blank. I knew she was going to take Polly's neck, but I was like, how the fuck is that going to work? No, it's Polly's whole fucking torso. And I was just like, confirmation she loved those boobies. Yeah, Amy, the creation that she makes. So basically, earlier on in the movie, we didn't mention this. She throws an ashtray that PD had made for May, and it said May on it at the cat at Loopy, and that's how Loopy dies. She murders Loopy.
Loopy.
And so she has the pieces though that say May. And after she's created this whole creation and sewed a very disturbing head made of a bag. I don't know. It's so weird. No head.
It looks like a scary little gimp mask.
Yeah. She like names her creation Amy, and I was like, love it.
She should have named it Yam.
No, Amy is perfect.
No, Amy's hilarious.
Did Yam at first. Yam is hilarious.
Amy is like better because it shows that she's dated men, she's dated women, she's staying with women.
Yeah. And someone on IMDb trivia was like, and it's like a me in French for friend. So, there's that. Isn't that cute?
Nice. That's nice. But yeah, she's got Blank's arms because he's got the sexy Frankenstein tattoo, got the whole neck and whole torso of Polly, because of course. And then the gams of Ambrosia and Adam's hands to tie it all together.
Needed those hands, baby.
And the end of this movie is so sad and it's so confusing because she's created her creation. She's reached her goal or whatever. And she's laying there next to.
She takes Polly's eyes, the doll, or Susie's eyes, the doll, puts them on the face, and she's got this person there, scare quotes. And she has done all this stuff, but she's still not happy because she's like, you can't see me. Like, she just wants this whole movie. She wants to be like seen and held by someone who's real, not someone who's Susie, who's a doll, like an actual person to like see her for who she is. And so she's done all this stuff and done all these murders to create that person, but they're not alive. They're not a real person because they're a bunch of dead body parts tied together. So she like is so upset with that. She's like, he can't actually love me. It can't actually see me. And so her way of fixing that problem is to give it a real eye. I know. I've got two.
Oh, I know. Does she rip out the lazy eye or the other eye?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, she rips out her lazy eye, and that's the scene you see at the very beginning where she just yeets it out of there.
She like uses a scissors or something, really jams it in there.
Yeah, I mean, your brain's back there, babe. Be careful. And puts it on top of Amy, and she lays next to Amy and is like crying, and you're like, this is about to be the most depressing ending of any movie I've ever seen in my life. Like, what is happening? What is the point? And it's all saved because somehow through either May's imagination or magic, the power of love, Amy lifts its arm and strokes May to calm her. And that's the end.
Yes, and I loved it because it's like one moment before she's stabbed herself in the eye, she places the eye on there, and then she lies down next to it, and the eyeball rolls off. And if it had ended when the eyeball rolled off, I think I would have laid down on the ground and never gotten back up. But
Agreed.
because it ends with the hand reaching over, to me, it's like, oh, okay, this is real, and she's validated in everything that she's done because it worked, bitch. So you
That's
can't
the power
deny the
of
results.
love.
You can't deny the results.
It's all about results, baby. Oh man, what an ending. It's beautiful. It's poetic in its own way. I don't have enough strength within me to really dive into why, but you get it.
I was rooting for her. I was sad for her. I mean, I was really sad when she killed Polly because a bunch of these like blogs and IMDb blah 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 and IMDb trivia was like she killed the people who wronged her in some way, but like obviously that is not true. Because Blank didn't really do anything other than discover a dead cat in her freezer and be afraid. And Polly was not exclusive with her, and May was also not exclusive with Polly. But yeah, I think I was still rooting for her. I was still like wanting the best for her by the end. I think what makes her a hero is the hand reaching over, because if it's just sad and she gets nothing, then she's just the villain, right? But if she gets the love, she's the hero. She accomplished her goal. She set out. Her narrative task has been achieved. She's happy. She's smiling in the last shot. I felt good. I felt my heart was warmed.
I was
Wholesome.
euphoric at the end of this movie. I was like,
Mhm.
what the fuck just happened? I don't care.
Yes. And if
Let's
it had
watch it
gone on
again.
longer and Amy got up and started walking around
Doing
or
a little
something, that would have
jig.
been stupid. That would
That
have
would
been
have
so
been super
weird.
stupid. No, that was like
It
the
was
it was
perfect.
the perfect ending. But the question of how could it have been gayer is that that she just stopped and didn't kill the rest of everyone and ran away with Polly. That's
Yeah,
it.
I mean, I think Ambrosia could be left in the dust. Polly
Yeah,
clearly
those are
doesn't
great
care
legs,
about her.
but there's more than great legs, you know?
Ambrosia has a bad attitude. But Polly also says literally she's just a piece of ass, basically. So Polly is kind of a slut, but I love that for her.
Yeah, but
Sometimes
I love
it's
that
important to be a slut.
it is.
Listen.
I'm a slut, so what? That's why it rhymes. Because
Listen, as somebody who is a slut, it's fine. Or maybe former. I'm a reformed slut. I
a
have
reformed slut.
matured in
I'm a
old
mature
age.
slut.
Be a slut. Do whatever you want, baby.
You're a slut in oh, I almost said the very wrong word.
What was that word, Monica?
I was gonna say remission, but then I was like, I don't like that phrasing. I don't like it.
Yeah, I see why you would
Hiatus, a
go
slut
for
on
it.
hiatus. There you go.
Slut on
A slut on
hiatus.
hiatus.
Retired, yeah. Oh, did you say that already? Is that what you said first time around?
No,
Former is what you said.
Former.
Anyway,
you never know. Could always come
we
back
come out of
around.
retirement
I could
any
come
day.
out
30,
of
flirty, and
retirement.
thriving.
I could come out of retirement. I don't want to.
Mhm.
Jesus Christ. Just
Get the gang back together for one last heist.
Oh my god.
we're getting the gang back together.
But yeah, I mean, Polly is a raging lesbian. And May is certainly exploring her queer identity. And I think, like you said, 100% embracing it.
Yeah.
Whether or not she knew it was there before, it's unlocked now. And Yam could have been a boy's name, you know what I mean? But you're right, she picked Amy. She rejected Yam, who surely was a man.
I had a friend in high school who we called Yam. His
What was
real
their
name was
gender?
Trevor. We just
Yeah,
called him Yam.
see, it's a boy.
Yeah,
There you go.
Yam is definitely a boy
Yeah.
nickname.
Yam, yeah, I feel like that
We
feels
called
right.
him Yams.
Okay, I'm back to you. You,
I think
convinced me to
Yam
be
is
Team
a
Amy.
gender neutral name.
Oh, could be, sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that it could be much gayer other than
They ran away
Sydney.
together.
You're right. If it was like not leaning into problematic tropes of that era, And it was
I want
better
more
representation.
wholesome lesbians.
Sure.
Less problematic lesbianism and more wholesome lesbianism. I want lesbians written by lesbians, okay?
Look, I want a lesbian who tells me I'm ready literally whenever you are, and I'll wait forever. And if I have a girl here and you want me to kick her out, I will. So whenever that happens, I'll be ready. Well, I won't be ready. It'll take me a long time to be ready, but they'll be waiting the whole time. That's the appeal.
That's the appeal. They're ready whenever you are.
Yes, just hey, whenever you're ready, I'm here. Literally any moment's notice, we'll drop everything.
Well, okay, how about this? For your consideration,
Uh-huh.
I'm switching topics.
Oh, okay.
Matthew Lillard as Adam. For your consideration.
Or
he's a great age for it.
Matthew Lillard as blank.
Rubbing ice on his nipples.
Mean,
do you mind if it's so hot in here?
Same character as SLC Punk, okay? Or
I know.
Yeah, he can just walk on over in his makeup.
Same thing.
The same character. We want to give him more opportunities to be sexy horror boy, you know? I think he could do both. He can't do both in the same movie. I mean, that would be fun. What if every character is played by Matthew Lillard?
That would be fun.
I would be down for that, actually.
Suddenly Polly's interesting now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like those are some good spots for him. There's not too many other characters, you know.
I mean, he could be Dr. Sarkeesian. Oh, he could be the guy who comes in with the dog who lost its leg, and he's like, I don't know where the leg is. And then he comes back a few days later and he's like, I found the leg. Can you reattach it?
He could be Adam's roommate who's just doing push-ups.
Too
who
small
doesn't
of a
love
cameo.
a push-up?
I need more. Yeah. Okay, dumb bitch. It's hard because everyone is wrong.
I know who it is. One, there's two people. It's baby Amy for when that other or not Amy, May, baby May, for when that child walks up to her and he's like, "Are you a pirate?" and she says no. Why would you say no? Big mistake.
Lean
Dumbest.
into the pirate vibe.
I am a pirate, but this eye patch is unrelated.
Like, she would have had so many friends and would have solved all of these problems. My second contender is Adam's new girl, Cute Ears. Because why did she invite May in? Why?
For the drama.
You're dead now. You're dead now.
Mom.
Yeah, I was gonna say mom
as dumb bitch, because she created
her origin story.
This monster.
she is, but like we don't get enough of her, you know.
Sure.
Silent dumb bitch. Her vibe is felt throughout. Susie's the dumb bitch.
Susie doesn't even know how to kiss.
Yeah, what the hell, Susie? Dumb bitch material.
Susie is putting out whack vibes. She absorbed them from her creator, May's mom. I think they could share the title.
Yeah, agreed.
Maybe Susie is possessed by May's mom, frankly.
May's mom.
Her spirit went into that doll.
Maybe.
That's where that original crack in the glass came from, when Susie or May's mom's spirit zoomed right through it. Probably. Yeah, I assume.
No, probably. That makes sense. All that's checking out for me. So yeah. Okay, that brings us to our knives out of 5. So what did the good people think about this movie?
This movie has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. On Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 69% fresh from critics and 75% fresh from nice. Sorry, I flew by it too fast. You were drinking water. Let me rewind. It has a 69% fresh from critics on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
And it has 75% fresh from audiences. And it was like kind of a box office flop. I mean, it's kind of an indie project,
Super
obviously.
indie.
And it just didn't make a lot of money, but it kind of has cult classic status
Totally.
now. Like I said, I'd never seen this movie before. I'd never even really heard of it, but I recognized the poster immediately when I saw the poster. I was like, oh, I've seen that 1 billion times. So I've been in its vicinity, but it did like the festival circuit when it first came out, and it did well at the festivals, got some noms, some awards for screenplay, actress, etc. So it did pretty well independently, and then in hindsight, I would say. As for my personal rating, I really liked it. I mean, Sydney has definitely made some compelling points about things that can and possibly should be changed. But if I view it mainly through a very forgiving 2022 lens, then I'm kind of okay with all of it. I think my thing about bad representation is that you can have bad representation as long as you have a lot of representation, as long as it's not the only information that people are getting, the only portrayals that people are seeing. I wish that May and Polly ran away together. Tragically, that was not this movie, but I really loved the ending, and the ending made so much of the film for me. And I was like enjoying the ride, but if it had ended differently, that would have all been ruined. The way that it ended was 100% spot on for me. So I think I would give it like a sexy little 4.85.
Yeah, I mean, I just fucking love this movie. I think it's really brilliant. I love the whole beginning part before the real horror sets in. I think it's paced well. I think it's set next to my house, and I like that about it. I know it's set next to my house. I love all the little details. The soundtrack is fucking bop after bop. It's like really, really, really good. The acting is stellar. Like, all the characters body it. It's amazing. I don't know. I had a really good time. I was laughing my ass off. I was freaked out. I thought the ending was beautiful. I don't know. I'm gonna give it a 4.9. I love this movie. I love
Ooh.
this movie, and I can't wait to watch it again.
Here's the thing. I still had a good time. This is a 4 out of 5 for me.
Okay.
Like, I still had a great time watching it. Do I want to rewatch it? Probably not. I don't know if I will.
Sure.
Like, it would be fun if we did like a group watch, but like, I'm not going to sit down and like watch it by myself.
Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
hear you.
That's fair.
It does make me interested in his other movies, though. I do think I might be checking out some of those movies because I'm hearing a lot of them, based on my little Google searches, are queer or queer coded or autistic coded or whatever. And I'm very curious, definitely, to check out more.
Totally. I agree.
Seems interesting for sure.
Awesome. Well, that's May, baby. Welcome to the month of May. What a splashing start.
Actually, do you know what? This movie is the perfect transition to our next film, because do you know who the star of May, Angela Bettis, played in a TV miniseries, I believe?
saw that.
Yeah. She played, would you like to say it, Sydney?
When we plan things so incredibly.
We planned it so intentionally.
Yeah,
we
plan
things
this
so well.
We do meticulous research.
Months in advance, we plan all of this. Years. This has been in the capsule.
We're covering the OG Good For You Crazy Girl, Carrie.
Yay!
I don't think I've ever actually seen this movie.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not.
Just the Chloe Grace Moritz one?
No, I've not seen any of them. Hell fucking no. I would never watch that shit first. Sorry, Chloe, but ugh.
What's that TikTok sound where it's like, oh, you're a crazy girl?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
That's the
Carrie
theme.
wrote the book on that shit.
That's the theme.
Crazy Girl 2 weeks. Yeah.
Crazy Girl 2 weeks. Hosted by 3 crazy girls.
Classic. But yeah, Angela Bettis played Carrie in the miniseries. And in one of the interviews that I read, she was talking about it with the guy, and he was like, yeah, I saw that you were in that. And she's like, yeah, Lucky hates it. Everybody does. Don't watch it. But I like Stephen King, and it paid me a lot of money. So I got to do movies like this one, May. But everybody recognizes Sissy SpaceX as the iconic original.
Yeah.
And I've seen it, but I'm really excited to revisit it. It's so good. It's prom season. We did prom night last year. We had to do another prom movie this year. So,
Prom.
it's prom, baby. It's prom. This one also goes out to AJ, who slid into our friends' dating app messages to tell us to do the movie Carrie on the pod sometime. So we are. Thanks,
Never
AJ.
felt more famous than that very moment when our friend was like, a person messaged me on Tinder and was like, the Spooky Tuesday girl.
It was on Hinge.
It was on Hinge.
It was on
Even
Hinge. And I was like, AJ, I went to your bar mitzvah. You can just DM me regularly.
Oh
but
my
okay.
Incredible.
AJ, we went to middle school together. If you are listening to this, this is a call out.
And this is going to be for you next week. So,
But now it's dedicated. Yeah.
yeah, beautiful.
That's amazing. You know what else would be beautiful? If you were to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser. I just think it would be really beautiful. You could write in as the review. Think about this. It's a callback to a November episode, but it's timely for this episode. You could write "Yay, go May" for your review. Similar to "Yay, go gay" from Cursed.
How about May go gay?
May go gay. That's better.
There we go.
That's
It's both an encouragement for May. It's an encouragement for all of us this month.
I think it's beautiful. It's a
May go
gorgeous
gay,
sentiment,
baby.
and we would love to have you say it to us, written out on Apple Podcasts with a 5-star review. So
With
consider
5
it.
stars.
If you want to skip the comma, it's kind of like, I may go gay. Like you're deliberating still. If you're not sure, that's okay. Take your time.
So many different ways to do it. Why not try them all? And why not follow us on social media while you're at it? We are at Spooky_Tuesday on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. We're also at Spooky Tuesday Pod on Facebook and Tumblr. And we're Spooky Tuesday on Letterboxd. And we have a YouTube. And if you go to the episode description, you will find our beautiful link for a discount from Ana Luisa. shop.analuisa.com/Spooky Tuesday. Wow, you have so many options, so many ways to engage. Aren't you excited? I am. And I just have to say thank you for listening.
Bye, Spookies.
You should call me one of these nights. We'll hang out and eat some melons or something.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Haidt, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Captain Tamara, and our podcast art is by Mary Murphy, who you can find on Instagram at _the_moon_omg.